So our first question is fairly simple. How did you hear about iConsumer? All right, we're going to close that one off. Thank you so much for responding. And second, what do you find most valuable about iConsumer membership? Just trying to get an idea of who we have here with us on our webinar today. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this one out now. And I would like to welcome you to the iConsumer webinar. We have a couple of housekeeping slides in case you missed them earlier, where you can learn how to ask us a question, use your audio. If your computer's audio isn't working for any reason, you can definitely dial in with your telephone and still hear. We are recording this webinar, so if you miss anything or have to head out early, we will be uploading the recorded webinar to our support portal when we are finished. If you've got questions, we love them. Please share them. Our agenda, we will be covering today a handful of things, including being a shareholder, a recap of the market, how iConsumer works, how to sell iConsumer stock, the benefits of referring a friend and maximizing ownership, and then we'll have time at the end for any questions and hopefully some really good answers. I would like to now introduce you all to Rob Grosshandler, iConsumer's CEO.
Thank you, Kim, and thanks to all for joining us on this afternoon from wherever you are. It is great doing these things live. I just updated a couple of screens, and so assuming those all work really well, it's an exciting time in the life of iConsumer. Kim, by the way, runs operations for us, besides also doing a very nice job of making sure that she tells you that we are recording this and it will be available afterwards. So let's talk a little bit about what happens, why you're a shareholder, what you get for being a shareholder. First and foremost, you're going to shop more, we hope. You're going to share that information that you're learning. We're going to share the information that we learn with you guys. And at the end of the day, it really is all about learning. So the totality is being an iConsumer shareholder means that you have an opportunity to shop and earn something. You have an opportunity to share what you know. We have an opportunity to share what we know, and we're all together building something that's really never been built before. And from it, because we're all doing this together, we're learning. We're learning things. I'm learning things every day. Hopefully you folk are learning stuff, and we share that with you as often as we can. So at heart, being a shareholder means that you own a piece of iConsumer. We think that means that your interests are aligned with the company, so that when we do things really well, or when you do things, it helps the company. And when the company does things, it helps you. If and when iConsumer is successful, you are going to reap the benefits of that success because you're an owner in this company. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but one of the ways that that benefit has real tangible meaning is that the stock price goes up, and you, as a shareholder, own iConsumer stock. Now, having said all that, this isn't some get-rich-quick kind of a scheme. This is more a get-rich-slow kind of a scheme. This is a long-term, no real immediate gratification kind of a play. We want you to be thinking in terms of 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, because we're trying to build a really valuable company, and that just doesn't happen overnight. And we're also going to talk a little bit about liquidity. Liquidity is how easy is it for you to buy or sell our stock. The symbol is RWRDP on the stock market or to other people. And so one of my jobs as a CEO is to try to make it easier for you to be able to buy or sell our stock, because if it's worth a lot but you can't sell it, that's not so good. The ticker symbol, the symbol that if you type this into Google that allows you to figure out what the stock is trading for, is RWRDP, which is reward P. And it's traded on the OTCQB market. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's drill into what I mean by being a long-term play. So there are some other companies you may have heard of that were also long-term plays. Uber and Lyft, Snap. These are 5 and 10-year investment horizons, and we think that that's true for iConsumer. iConsumer is really in its 3rd year after being launched, and we have several more years to go. We're public for a very interesting reason. Normally, companies at our stage are not public companies. But we went public because our explicit goal is to have 1 million shareholders. That's a lot of shareholders. And you can't do that legally in the United States without being a public company. So all that being said, and you'll see in the emails from me, I say, oh, don't worry about the stock. Don't worry about the stock. It's a couple years out, 3, 4, 5 years out. But I have to tell you, I can't help myself. I don't expect for you to help yourselves. It's fun to watch the stock price move up and down. Way more fun to watch it move up than to watch it move down. Our goal is to take this stock, which is trading in the 10 cents, 12 cents, 15 cent range, and make it a $3 stock. We want our investors, we want everybody, all of our shareholders, to reap the benefits of getting a 20, a 30, maybe a 40 or a 50 times return on their investment. And that matters whether or not you earned our stock because you went shopping someplace or you referred friends, or you bought our stock on the market. So we like to compare ourselves to Ebates. And the reason we like to compare ourselves to Ebates is because we are basically Ebates meets FinTech. Talking a little bit about Ebates. Founded in 1998, sold in 2014. So there is that, 5, 10-year kind of a horizon. In their case, it was longer than that. They raised $85 million to get to where they got to. But when they sold to Rakuten, they sold for $1 billion. And the investors, especially the early investors, got very, very happy. But the people who brought them to the market, the people who made it all possible, the shoppers, their members, got a big, fat zero. No big, fat check, a big, fat zero. We think we can do that one better. We think that with your participation, with 1 million shoppers' participation, we have the opportunity to build and own the next Ebates. That would be a pretty cool thing. So I'm about to show you a whole lot of eye charts. So this is stock trading charts and stock trading information. And you can see all of these for your very own at www.otcmarkets.com/stock/RWRDP/quote. So that's on the screen for anybody who wants to go there. I wouldn't worry about this. You can see this on our site, and I'll show you how easy it is. So one of the things that's fun about doing live webinars is I get to go out and take a look at what is happening today. Now, I've said, do not focus on this. I don't focus on this, but it is lots of fun to glance at it every so often. So this is a recap of what our stock is trading at, how many shares are out there in market cap. If I do that, we've got 3 pieces of information that's really fun to watch. And one of the things that's really cool about doing these lives is the difference between the bid and the ask has never been this low. This is exciting. I have no idea why this is happening. This is what big companies look like. The difference, the spread between the best bid and the best ask here is 600ths of a cent. Let's see. It's 600ths of a cent. pretty cool.
That's thousands.
6,000ths of a cent, even
Yeah.
better. Thank you. See, I'm not about math. I'm about the feel of it all.
I'm
And it
sorry,
feels
guys.
great.
I'm sorry, guys. This is Sandy, the CTO. I have to correct you both. That's 10.3 cents and 10.9 cents. So we're talking tenths of cents
Okay.
Which would be thousands?
of a dollar.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You're
There
right.
we go. There we go. That's why we do these things live, because we can learn. And that gives us a market cap, by the way, of about $13 million. Market cap is really easy. It's the number of shares out times the last price, which was 12 cents a share. So let's dig into this a little bit. But I'm really excited about this. This won't last. This is unusual. I don't know what's going on. We certainly don't control it. Let's dig into this a bit. What this says is that a market maker with the symbol CDEL, which happens to be Citadel, is willing to buy 5,000 shares of our stock for 10.3 cents. And a different market maker, I don't know what CSTI stands for, is willing to sell shares for 10.9 cents, for almost 11 cents. They would sell 9,975 shares for that. That's really interesting. When we talk about volatility and we talk about liquidity, and that being one of the goals of having a more mature company, this is one of the biggest indicators that our stock is becoming more acceptable as an investment vehicle. Again, I want to say that this is very unusual. Normally there's a 5, 6, 7 cent spread, and I have no idea why the people behind these are doing this, but it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. So let's take a look at what the shares have traded at recently. So one of the ways you can tell that our stock is more volatile and less liquid is the frequency with which it trades. So if we were talking about AT&T stock or General Motors stock, you would see the number of trades per second. In our case, we're lucky if there's a day that has a trade in it. So on June 14th, just 5 days ago, we actually had 2 trades. Somebody paid, therefore somebody sold 400 shares at 12 cents. Earlier that day, someone sold and someone bought 4,000 shares for just less than 10 cents a share. So one of the things that we've tried to do with iConsumer, one of the sort of the fundamental ideas behind it, is that we're leveraging the fun of the stock market to provide education and enjoyment to our shareholders. It's gamification, right? And so we're using the stock market to gamify what's going on, or we're leveraging what the stock market naturally does, which is gamify things. We have pretty pictures. You can actually get a chart on our site. This is taken this morning, about an hour ago, showing the ups and downs of iConsumer stock. So you'll notice that it's really been trading in a reasonably tight range. That suggests that our volatility is going down. I would say to you that that's I wouldn't put much faith in that. There's so few trades of iConsumer stock that the volatility is, whatever volatility there might be, is sort of masked by the fact that there's very, very little volume. People talk about iConsumer stock being traded by appointment. Again, once we become like GM or AT&T, and knock on wood that we become like them, you'll see numbers of trades per second. We're only trading once, twice, 3 times a week. So we still have a ways to go. Again, this is why I talk about it being a long-term play. All right, enough about the stock market. Let's talk a little bit, in case you didn't know, about how iConsumer works. First and foremost, members, that's the people who have joined iConsumer. They go shop at one of 2,000 different retailers, and the retailer handles all of the heavy lifting. When you go buy a sweater at Macy's, Macy's takes your money, Macy's ships you the sweater. Macy's is paying us a commission when you do that. We share that commission with you, the member. We share it currently in two ways. Basically, you're getting a rebate of our stock. And that's the most important piece of the sharing that goes on. You also get a little bit of cash back when that happens. So when we talk about this being like Ebates, except we've met fintech, it's not cash back, it's stock back. And that stock today, traded at 10 cents, 12 cents. Maybe, just maybe, in a year, that stock trades for 25 cents or 50 cents or $1. Or if I'm really good at my job, it trades for $3. So we're enabling you to become an investor. And every time you shop, you become a bigger investor in this publicly traded startup. So now you own this stock. What are you going to do with it? Well, we suspect at some point, you're going to want to sell it via the stock market. Typically, if you own shares in a company the size of iConsumer, it is impossible to sell those shares, and you got to find a buyer yourself. Because we're publicly traded on a stock market, on the OTC market, the over-the-counter market, it's actually a lot easier than it might be otherwise. Still not easy. We have a long ways to go, but it is a lot easier. And here's the process. First, you transfer the stock from iConsumer to Issuer Direct. Now, there's a cost associated with that. We're not trying to make any money on you, but it costs us $7.50 to get the stock from iConsumer's books onto Issuer Direct's books. Issuer Direct is a transfer agent, and this process is actually regulated and mandated by the SEC. Now you've got your stock in your Issuer Direct account, you need to do the next step, which is establish a stock brokerage account. Our fave is TD Ameritrade. We're tiny, and while we're tiny and traded on the OTC, not every stockbroker wants to do this. Currently, TD Ameritrade does it. TD Ameritrade does not charge anything for it. Indeed, they may actually bribe you to open an account. But the transfer agent, in order to make a buck, will charge you about $25. And it takes, 5 to 10 days for that process to happen. So now your stock, your iConsumer stock, ticker symbol RWRDP, is sitting in your TD Ameritrade account. When you're ready, and not before, you tell your stockbroker to go sell. You place a sell order, and you tell them what price you want to sell it at. So if we went back a couple of screens, I'm going to do that because I can do that easily. We have these quotes here, right? So we have someone's willing to sell for 11 cents a share. We've got somebody way at the bottom there, GTSM, on the right-hand side is willing to sell 2,500 shares for 48 cents. So you don't have to sell at the market. You can say, if this price exceeds 48 cents, please sell my shares. So you got those shares for shopping. One could say essentially for free. You think they're worth 10 or 15 cents. You would think they're worth 20 cents, 25 cents. Someone's willing to pay 48 cents for them. You may want to consider selling them. All right, so that's how it works. That's how to sell at the market. One of the things that I want to say over and over again, I'm going to say it here, is that there are no guarantees that someone wants to buy at that 48 cents or the 10 cents or the 5 cents. There is an element of risk here. This is investing. There are, to repeat myself, no guarantees. But assuming you like this, and I hope you like it, I believe you're going to want to maximize your ownership. And there are 3 great ways to increase your ownership. First, go shop at Macy's or one of 2,000 other stores, right? And you get shares when you shop. Go buy that sweater, go buy drugs at Walgreens, go buy yard equipment. You get shares in iConsumer every time you shop. Also, another great way to make your ownership more bigger, to make your ownership stake bigger and to make it worth more perhaps, is to tell friends. We have a refer a friend program. Tell a friend. You're going to earn 250 shares for every shopper you refer. And that's great because they're going to go shopping and help make the company you own part of bigger. And you're going to get those 250 shares. So you're going to own more of the company. So it's getting bigger at the same time as it's getting more valuable. So please go tell your friends. Just so you know, right now, until the end of June. When your friend signs up and shops, he or she is going to earn 500 shares, right? So at a trade of 12 cents, 500 shares is $60. Sandy, is my math correct? We're going to let him go off of mute and let him do the math here.
Oh, geez, you're calling me on the carpet here. Sounded like it was correct.
All right, good. And the last way to maximize your ownership is you can go buy our shares. Actually, two ways. You can go buy them on the market, and that's fine. We don't mind that. That means somebody who wants to sell gets to sell their shares. But when you invest in iConsumer by going to www.iconsumer.com/invest, we actually get that money and we spend it on things like recruiting more members, recruiting more shoppers. So that's the third way. We have 1.1.1. I thought I corrected that before, but they're all so important. They're all ones. Here's the secret sauce to iConsumer. The more valuable we are, the more likely our stock price is to go higher. Now, that's the same secret sauce that every public company has, right? The more valuable we are, supposedly, the more likely our price is going to go up. And our stock price is volatile, and it's impossible for us to control it. The only thing we control, and the only thing you really control, is how much shopping happens. And we're seeing two things that are really interesting. First, the more shopping that happens, the more valuable we are. And if things happen the way they're supposed to happen, that translates into a higher stock price. And the other fun thing is the gamification piece. When our stock ticks up, when it goes from 10 cents to 11 cents to 12 cents, we actually think that we're seeing that people are more interested in shopping when the stock price goes up. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's sort of that secret sauce. But again, there are no promises. We can't guarantee what that stock price is going to do. So just to give you some idea of the things that we do control from a stock price perspective, if you were a direct investor in iConsumer, if you had written a check and bought shares from us, we started out selling our shares at 4.5 cents. We then started selling our shares at 9 cents a share, and currently we're selling our shares at 15 cents a share. So we've been able to support an increasing share price, which is a good thing. And I'm going to repeat again, if you're interested in buying our stock, www.iconsumer.com/invest is the place to go. One of the reasons why people enjoy the opportunity to invest in iConsumer, one of the things that happens because we're a public company is that we publish both annual and semi-annual financial statements that are audited. We have people looking over our shoulders to make sure that what we tell you is as true and as transparent as we know how to make it. So we spend a lot of time and a lot of money every year making sure that the numbers we present are accurate. And if we do forecast something, that we back that up with the best information that we know at that moment. So that's really important. And the other reason that people like investing in iConsumer versus investing in your friend's corner bakery. I'm not saying that the corner bakery isn't a bad thing to invest in, but here's why you might consider iConsumer a better bet, is that we put forth a lot of information about ourselves. We're required to do this. It's part of the fun of being SEC qualified. And recently, June 13th, actually, last week, we got requalified again. That means that we submitted a whole bunch of paperwork to the SEC. The SEC reviewed it and believes that we crossed our T's and dotted our I's. They're not saying that we're a good investment or a bad investment, but they are saying that we have presented you, the potential investor, you, the shopper, and when you're shopping, you become an investor. We've presented you with the information you need to make an educated choice as to whether or not to become or remain an iConsumer investor. The last piece of this that I wanted to talk about is that So many of us are first-time investors in a publicly funded, publicly traded startup. And so we have this great resource called shareholderacademy.com available to you. And we also have another resource, support.iconsumer.com, available to you. We know that there are lots of questions. We are doing a bunch of things for the first time. We're having people who are doing things for the first time. So we do our darndest to make sure that we present information in a clear and cogent fashion. We make sure that we present it to everybody at the same time. One of the things that we're doing differently is we have we're going to have 1 million shareholders. That's the plan. And how do we make sure that we provide the right care and feeding to those 1 million shareholders? Shareholder Academy is the way we do that, shareholderacademy.com. So that when we do talk about something that is, we think, important that any investor know about, we do our darndest to make sure that we share it with everybody at the same time. So we actually have a question. I'm seeing a question from Ryan Porter, and he's asking what the attendance is at the webinar, and he's hoping that it's full with only 100 spots available. It's not full, time of day, et cetera, et cetera. We do this monthly, so it doesn't happen. But if that were the kind of answer that might affect your investment decision, we would try to publish that to shareholderacademy.com at the same time as we shared it with Ryan. So we do our best to make sure that we create a level playing field for all of our investors. We have 2,700 shareholders of record. We have about 55,000 shareholders in waiting. Can't speak this morning. Shareholders in waiting. Those are folks that have earned our shares, but have not yet decided that they want to have us issue and transfer them to the transfer agent. So we take this responsibility quite seriously. Having said that, I've been talking nonstop for almost 30 minutes. We love your questions. If you have questions, please share them with us. I see one question here from Jennifer. She says, you're giving us stock that you think that the stock price will be $3 in 2 or 3 years. And I would like to correct that. If I said I think the price will be $3, I don't say those kinds of things. I hope the price will be $3. I hope the price will be 25 cents. But because we can't and will not guarantee anything along those lines, I always try to couch things to say, in our best efforts, we're going to make it $3, but we don't guarantee. Indeed, the other thing that our lawyers love for us to do is put up this screen that talks about safe harbor statements. That is, we're telling you that nothing we said can we be held accountable for, that should the earth stop tomorrow, nothing we said is going to come true, and if the sun doesn't come up, it's not our fault. But we pay a lot of money to our lawyers, and they want to make sure that we put up these safe harbor statements. So again, do we have other questions out there, other observations? Help us make a dent in the universe.
I've got one more question here. It looks like Mike wants to know, back in the transferring of stock slide, where do they start that process? Is that on iConsumer or where?
That's a great question. Thanks, Mike. You start that on iConsumer, and next time we do this, I will have a screen grab of that page, but you do it from the dashboard. So you go to iConsumer.com/html/mystats.cfm, and you have a big blue button that says transfer my shares. And you can transfer whatever shares you have that you've held long enough that you've had a chance to return whatever it is that you purchased. You have that chance to transfer those shares. Now, again, because it costs $7.50 and because it's going to cost you another $25 to move it into a brokerage account, We highly recommend that you not think about doing this until you have a sufficient number of shares to make it worthwhile. So that all depends on what the stock price is on that day, what you think the stock price is going to be, in the near future. So before you invest $32.50 moving stock into a brokerage account, make sure you have enough shares to make that worthwhile.
All right, I've got one more question. This is from Kelly. What do you mean by market cap, and what does that mean for the value of my shares that I already have?
Well, these are great leading questions because I have pictures. Okay, at the bottom right here, it says, and I may actually be able to point, we're going over our 30-minute thing. We're in our 31st minute, so forgive me. So let's go and do a highlighter, and here we go. There's the market cap. The market cap is simply 108,290,123. See if I can do this without screwing up. There we go. Boy, that looks lovely. Multiplied by 12. I gotta learn how to use this pointer a little bit better. And that gives you $12,994,815. So if someone were to buy all 109 million shares of iConsumer stock, they'd pay about $13 million for that. So your share is worth 13 million divided by 108,290,123 cents, coming back to the 12-cent number. So the market cap is a reflection of how much people are paying for the shares. So again, right now it's 12 cents times $108,290,123. So your share will go up. Now, if there are more shares out there, that is, we're issuing shares all of the time, the number of shares may go from 108,290,123 to a larger number. So that would mean that you'd have to divide the market cap by the new number. But on the other hand, if people are still selling for 12 cents a share, and there are more shares out there, well then, let's say there were 200 million shares. That's an easy number. I can do that one in my head. I don't need Sandy to check up on me. 200 million times 12 cents a share would mean that the market cap, the market capitalization, the worth of the entire company would be $24 million. So 200 million shares times 12 cents would give us a market cap of $24 million. Mike, I hope that that answered your question.
I think that was Kelly, but
oh,
yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I
hope that answered your question too. But Kelly, thank you very much.
And I don't see any additional questions. I think Sandy may have had something. Rob?
So Sandy is asking a question of us. Sandy asks, those 108 million shares are only those at Issuer Direct, right? That is correct, but Issuer Direct has all of the issued and transferred stock. So if we've issued RWRDP, they all exist at Issuer Direct. So that is truly the number of shares that have been issued.
All right, we are almost 5 minutes over our half-hour time, but thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are, and we will share this recording to support.iconsumer.com shortly. Share it with your friends or anyone else who might be interested in learning more about iConsumer. Bye.